What's up, guys? I'm Landon from Shoeware, and today we're putting the two newest models from Damian Lillard's shoe line with Adidas head to head to see how they compare. So really quick, if this is your first time checking us out, feel free to drop a follow or subscribe wherever you're watching and give this video a like. We would greatly appreciate that. But now just to touch on the box and the price really quick, you're going to have a really cool shoe box for the Dame 8s. So as you can see, there's just a lot of details mixed into it. You're going to have that whole boxing theme that's also going to make its way onto the shoes. So, definitely a lot more details than you're going to see on most Adidas boxes. But switching it over to the Dame 7s, these get more of a black box with some wavy lines kind of mixed in there. This is part of that whole extended play, that EXT PLY theme. So you're going to have some sound waves mixed into that like player logo that's blown up on top. And then he's got the wing design kind of peeking off his player logo. So I think that's a pretty cool concept. But as for the pricing, the Dame 8s did jump up $10 and they're now going to be retailing for $120. So I think most of the Dame 7s were going for $110. Some special colorways had a $10 increase. Like I know that this Dame Gnosis colorway was actually $120. So, two shoes that are definitely going to fall on the more affordable side of the scale.
You can't play a player, baby. That's just how the game goes. All I'm focused on is...
All right, so taking a brief look at the appearance for these models and starting off with the colorways, today we had the Adidas Dame 8 Dame Time versus the Dame 7 Dame Gnosis. So, two pretty sweet color schemes with, the boxing theme on the 8s. And then for the Dame 7s, it's kind of like a collab, if you want to call it that, with Shaq and Reebok. So, Adidas owns Reebok, so there's no foul play or anything like that going on. But, really cool color blocking on this Dame 7. You're also going to have that Shaq Diesel text show up on the shoe for one of the overlays. And, Shaq just does it all. I feel like he's everywhere. And honestly, so does Dame. These guys were both amazing on the court, and they're also kind of like recording artists or rappers or whatever you want to call it. But, it's really cool to see them excel in both places. But, now just looking at the design, I'm going to kind of bounce them off each other, just go back and forth because, there's only slight changes to these models, but they did keep the same general concept. So you're going to have a wing pattern that runs up the midsole for last year's design. And, I think it's a really cool look. It kind of ties in like Dame's wing player logo, but they did take that design away for the Dame 8. And you're going to see more of like some curves that run along that midsole, but they did throw a pull tab onto the tongue for this year's Dame 8 compared to a much more, simple look to last year's 7. But the Dame text is going to be on the inner portion of this Dame 8, which, is a lot similar to some of the models from last year. This just doesn't show up on this one right here, but you can also have some patches mixed into both of these shoes. So on the in and outside of the 7s, you're going to get a few of those Adidas patches. And then for the Dame 8s, it's just more going to have one patch on the back with some Dame text on there near the heel. So, like I said, some pretty similar structure between the 7 and 8 model. I think Adidas kind of found something that they liked. And, the last few models have kind of followed the same general look, just a really similar design. So, honestly, I do like the appearance for both of these shoes. Dame's line has been doing a good job in that aspect for a while.
You can't play a player, baby. That's just how the game goes. All I'm focused on is winning real.
Alright, so for the last half of this review, I'll hit on more of like the materials and the performance side for both of these shoes. So starting off with the cushioning for the Dame 7s, just to make it easier to kind of track what they changed. The Dame 7s are going to have a light strike cushioning midsole, which is the same thing that was used in the Dame 6s, and that's actually where it showed up for the first time on his line. It was in that 6 model, and it does play really nice. So light strike is designed to kind of keep a shoe lightweight while also giving you a soft and responsive feel. So, I definitely did like the feel for the Dame 7s, just overall to play in. It's a really nice feel for the low price especially. So it's not going to be super bouncy, but it is still pretty soft. It's not going to be uncomfortable or anything along those lines, but a pretty similar feel for these Dame 7s for the Dame 8s, even with there being some different stuff used. So for the Dame 8s, you get a dual density Bounce Pro cushioning setup, and that has a really great feel to play in. It's designed to give you like the perfect ratio of energy return, cushioning, and support, and I really was a fan of how these played. Like I said, last year did use the light strike cushioning setup, and those played good. It's going to be a same feel for the Dame 8, in my opinion. I haven't really been able to test them out a ton yet since they did just release, but so far the impact protection has felt really good, and the cushioning is just well balanced for both shoes.
You can't play a player, baby. That's just how the game goes. All I'm focused on is...
Alright, so now looking at the materials and the support For the Dame 7s, I mean, there's nothing too special about the quality of the materials. Cheaper shoes get cheaper stuff in general, so these are going to have a knit design for the upper with some synthetic overlays kind of tossed on there too, but it's a pretty similar idea for the Dame 8s for the most part. So the Dame 8s get some TPU overlays kind of positioned in pretty much the exact same spots compared to the 7s, but both of these shoes are going to be breathable. The Dame 8's going to have a little like Achilles pillow that kind of pokes up from the shoe, but I didn't even notice it while I was playing. It's honestly there for the Dame 7s. It's kind of built into more of the heel on the inside of that design, but for this year's Dame 8, this is actually the first time that they used some recycled content to make up his line. So it looks like at least 25% of the components used to make up the upper is going to be a minimum of like 50% recycled material. So that is always a nice addition. But, as for the support, it plays really similar on both of these designs. Even with not having like, the highest quality stuff, there's no real give to the Dame 7s whenever you're making those hard moves. It holds up really well, and you get a traditional lacing setup for both of these lines, and a lot can be said for the Dame 8s. I mean, any type of movements, the lateral containment, it's just definitely good for Dame's line. I've never really struggled with it before.
You can't play a player, baby, that's just how the game goes. All I'm focused on is
all right, so finishing off with the traction, these do have like the same flow with a few minor changes in the pattern. So for the Dame 8s, you get more of a wavy line pattern with some indentions on the bottom that just wasn't on last year's model. But a similar looking design with some jagged arrows is going to be on the Dame 7. It is going to look a little bit closer to a traditional herringbone pattern, but neither one of these shoes are super sticky, but they do have some grip. I can't give my best opinion on the Dame 8s yet because I've only played in them a handful of times, and a few of those were on a dusty court, but there's nothing to knock on them so far. And the Dame 7s have held up well now that I've been playing in them for a while, so the durability should be nice for both of these models though. I mean, I did test them out on outdoor courts and they played really well. So like I said, a similar traction concept between these two designs. Dame's really one of the shoe lines out there that didn't change up a ton over the last few years, and that's honestly a good thing because some other Adidas shoe lines have definitely struggled with that traction category. But to finish up with sizing, the Dame 7s are going to run true to size, but the Dame 8s actually run a little bit on the big side, so at least a little bigger than the Dame 7s. So there's more room than I prefer, just like lengthwise in the shoe. So a snug fit, if you like a snug fit, I consider going a half size down. If you like some room to play in, true to size should work.
You can't play a player, baby, that's just how the game goes. All I'm focused on is winning.
So for the final ratings and starting off with the appearance, it's a really clean look for both of these designs. I do like the pattern kind of running up the midsole for the Dame 7s with that wing design, and then you also had the whole extended play version for this colorway is really nice. So I still like the look for the Dame 8s. There's not really a clear way to lean, so I am going to keep that section as a tie. But as for cushioning, it is a pretty similar feel between these two models, but I do think the Dame 8s just play a little bit softer. They do have a slightly different cushioning setup with the Bounce Pro kind of compared to that Light Strike in the Dame 7s. So, really close, but I am going to let the Dame 8s edge out for the cushion section. As for the materials, you do have a lot of the same things kind of going on between these two shoes, so I am going to keep that section as a tie. And, the same thing can kind of be said for the support. There's no issues with the containment on Dame's line that I've played in so far, and then, even with the Dame 8s running a little bit on the big side, you still feel secure within that shoe. The upper doesn't really struggle on like those rapid or hard movements, so I will stick with a tie there. But to finish off with traction, I kind of feel like a broken record at this point, but even with a slightly different traction pattern, they still played, just about the same. I do need a little more time to gauge the Dame 8s because, like I said, they just came out, but, overall they're nice so far. So, with this performance battle, I'm actually going to end this in the rare tie for my final decision. Like I've been hammering home this whole video, there just isn't that much different between this year's Dame 8 compared to the Dame 7s. I mean, there's kind of like the 8 might be a little bit softer, but just not enough to really make the shoe better overall. I'm a pretty big fan of Dame's line. I think some other shoe lines with Adidas have kind of struggled to keep a comfortable feel while at least having, like some adequate traction. But, I definitely didn't like the Harden 5s or the Trey 1s, like as far as traction is concerned. But the last two Dame models, I mean, you're going to get a really solid performance shoe. Definitely worth it for the lower side of the retail cost. So if you're interested in buying one or both of these shoes and you want to support our channel, we do have an affiliate link in the description that gives us some money that we put back into reviewing more shoes for you. So feel free to check that out. But that wraps up this performance comparison. Feel free to leave a comment below if you like this video, or just let us know any other shoes you want to see go head to head. But until next review, I'm Landon from Shoeware. Peace. Peace.
You can't play a player, baby, that's just how the game goes. All I'm focused on is winning.